I would like to add another example of culture as synergy. You've seen me here as the interpreter, but actually I'm also a member of a civil group, a readers network. It's called Човешката библиотека, or the Human Library in English. And we are a community of people who like to read. So here's the recognizable cultural aspect. And sometimes we also publish books. Now, if Stu is kind enough to give me my backpack, it's a black one, should be somewhere there, I will show you a cultural artifact which has very much to do with sustainable development. Ever since we started in 2005, we had a couple of goals that distinguish us from ordinary publishers. And one of our goals was to make books in such a way that is sustainable. We didn't know the term sustainable at the time. It was 2005, I still hadn't got to know Peter Slivica. So we just said we want to make our books in a way that is caring for the earth, for our common home. What is such a way? Well, nowadays everybody knows. You do your books on recycled paper. So actually, we have fiction books that were done on recycled paper. The first one was really interesting. It was The Last Unicorn because we used Bulgarian recycled paper, and our publisher, not our publisher, but the person who printed the book, had to choose each piece of paper separately because it wasn't used for books. It was used only for wrapping things up. So it was very thick, very uneven. You could see letters remaining from the older books that this paper had been recycled from here and then. And when he gave us the book, he said, actually, I'm surprised that this worked. I didn't know if it would work. It's the first book I'm doing of this kind. That was in 2006. Nowadays, there are a couple of Bulgarian publishers who use recycled paper for their books. There are some publishers who use certified paper. There are a couple of certificates. One of them has been questioned already. So, like when you hear that a particular paper has a certificate, you also have to research what kind of certificate it is. But we wanted to give this cultural example of how things can be done. Because the idea at the time was, this is going to be so expensive, no one will buy it. Like, Bulgarian readers are poor. Why should we burden them even more? Well, it turned out that's wrong. The paper is probably, I don't know, it doesn't add more than 10% to the actual value of the book. And when you explain to people that when they buy an ordinary book, they add 50% more expenses to their children's economic challenges, and they start thinking, they say, okay, it's better to pay a bit more now than to pay a lot more later. So those books were a tool of raising awareness. That's one of our goals from the very beginning. A book, if it's a good piece of literature, it has the potential to change the world in itself, but also if the way it is done provokes thought, provokes discussion, that changes the world too. Yeah, this is about a culture that is aimed at the future, not like what Radi told us about, the culture that has to do with the past. Many of our books are actually science fiction, and science fiction has to deal with the future. It's not about the past. Oh, it's about our present. It's the relation between our present and our future. So I was also very happy about this last presentation about the permeation of culture in all aspects of our world, and we are constantly thinking about other ways to to raise people awareness of every aspect of their life choices, even through stories. Two of the stories in this green book are about genetically modified food, and they are fiction stories. They are not reports or scientific analysis. They show how genetically modified food changes societies and how they can ruin a person's livelihood, or the kind of schemes that go behind this project that we heard about with the elephant, genetically modified grass. What kind of thinking goes there? So.